I've been very happy to be here for this last 10 days or so at Abhayagiri. Arrived here on Wednesday, I think, and was here over the Katina weekend, and now staying through these days as things get quieter and quieter and rainier as the days proceed. And yeah, it's very lovely for myself to come and visit and to spend time with the community, also to see the steady and very impressive progress of the physical development of the monastery. This lovely Dhamma hall now very much in a continual use, and then the other developments around the site, the 4 replacement kutis that have been created this year in particular, and the addition of a Santi Vihara where I've been staying, this beautiful house across the road. So it's very pleasing and this heartwarming to be in the midst of this kind of say signs of development, progress, and also the continuing flow of people to come and practice here, train here, lay people coming to spend time here, shorter and longer periods, and for the people entering into monastic life as anagarikas, and then training samaneras as bhikkhus, and then also traveling off to other places around the world, different monasteries, different countries, different living situations. So I was talking with Joseph Pabakaro, who was my first teacher in Thailand. He was the abbot of Wat Pah Nanachat when I first showed up there in 1978, and was having a conversation with him this morning. He was checking in about a few things, and he was asking what it was like, and I said, well, I feel a bit like a proud parent. Like, yeah, well, yeah, the kids growing up really well and doing wonderfully in the world. That sense of not that I have been a parent, physical, biological parent in this lifetime, at least not to my knowledge. But in terms of parenthood in the Sangha, then it's very, very heartwarming, delightful, very pleasing to see. So I've got a proud parent type perceptions have been taking shape during this last period of time. At least that's what came to mind when I was talking with Joseph today. Also the development of 3 jewels over on the coast in Fort Bragg, where Medika had developed a place, and beautiful Dhamma hall and a living place that so many times she'd mentioned over the years that she wanted to bequeath it to the Sangha when she was no longer alive, and seeing that intention of hers taking shape, and that the bhikkhus had spent the rains retreat there, also the possibility of another place opening up in Humboldt at some point, and also Pacific Hermitage, Ajahn Sudanto very definitely getting his roots down in the forest outside of White Salmon on the Columbia River. That Pacific Hermitage is very well established now. So not only is the kid doing fine, but the kid's been having kids too. So kind of proud grandparent. I am that age. Yeah. It's kind of shocking to think when Joseph was commenting that I looked quite a bit older in some of the photographs he'd been seeing. It did come to mind that, well, I am the age that Ajahn Chah was when you were looking after him. So that time does go by, and even though one might have a reputation for being forever youthful, still the wrinkles keep appearing, and everything heads southwards steadily. The force of gravity has a continuing, noticeable effect on the physical form. But also, thinking of Luang Por Chah and reflecting upon progress and that sense of development. Yeah, also at Amaravati, where at the monastery where I'm living, lots of physical development going on there, building a whole new sala workshop complex right now. That it's easy to forget words of Luang Por Chah where he said the Buddha Dhamma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. Buddha Dhamma is not to be found in progress, in degeneration, or in stasis. And so we can get very focused and habituated to worldly aims and values and think, no buildings is a state of weakness, or a small number of people is a state of say poverty or diminution, or things being not very strong. And lots of people, or lots of buildings, lots of development is a good thing. But Luang Por Chah was extraordinarily wise, and he did a lot of building, and had, even by the time when he couldn't teach anymore, there was 80 or 100 branch monasteries, and then there's 350 or so, since he have developed in his own lifetime and since he passed away. So he was responsible for a lot of development. But right at the very core, we have these kind of principles that he would remind us of. And it was really the last advice he gave to Luang Por Sumedho just before he had his physical collapse. He sent a letter to England, which was unprecedented. Luang Por Sumedho had never had a letter from Ajahn Chah before. This letter arrived in the post from a Western monk who was living at Ajahn Chah's monastery, and said, "You're not going to believe this, but Luang Por had me take dictation this morning," and so he'd asked this Western monk to write down his message, and in that message they had that very advice: the Buddha Dhamma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. This Sumedho is your place of non-abiding. So I feel that these words and the teaching, the wisdom that they contain is extraordinarily important for us if we wish to be practicing the Dhamma. It's not about the numbers of people we have as our students, or the number of hours we spend in meditation. It's not about that number of buildings we have, or even the mind states that we might be able to develop in formal practice. That these are all, in a way, things that can be measured. These are things to do with the worldly conditions, and that when we say that Buddha Dhamma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. It's not to be found in progress, or in diminution, or in stasis, in stability. Then what it's doing is it's helping us to disentangle the attention from those worldly aims and values, the worldly judgments of what is progress, what is degeneration, what is stasis or stability. And it encourages us to look beyond that. In recent times, I've been reflecting a lot on. There's a particular sutta that I've been looking at and reflecting on quite a bit recently, and it's quite rare in the Pali Canon because it's a lay person giving a Dhamma teaching to a monk, which is an uncommon situation. It's where the householder Citta is giving some Dhamma advice to the monk Godatta, and it can sound a bit technical, but Godatta has asked Citta, the householder, the liberation of mind through measurelessness, the liberation of mind through signlessness, the liberation of mind through emptiness, and the liberation of mind through nothingness, are they the same or are they different? Are they the same thing or are they different things? So I won't get too technical, but the part of the teaching that then the householder Jitta gives, the words have really strike me, and I found very helpful, very fruitful for reflecting, contemplating. So in the teaching, as he's spelling it out, he says that raga, passion or desire, craving, is a maker of measurement. Hatred, dosa, is a maker of measurement. Delusion, moha, is a maker of measurement. So that that mind that is measuring things, progressing, falling apart, nice and steady, that those kind of judgments, if we take them as absolute and real, then they're naturally based on raga, dosa, and moha, on passion, on aversion, and on delusion. And then in the other categories, he says on the question about liberation of mind through nothingness, he says that passion, raga, is a something. Hatred is a something. Delusion is a something. And so that as long as the mind is making somethings, it's making the world of things into that which is solid, that which is ownable, that which is complete and independent, that something that is possessed by us, that I have got these robes or this body, that sense of it's a something, the degree to which the mind makes somethings, creates the world of independent, separate, permanent things, then that's naturally tied up with passion, with aversion, with delusion. And then also in that same analysis, then he says the one about signlessness, liberation of mind through signlessness, he says passion, desire, craving, is a maker of signs. Hatred is a maker of signs. Delusion is a maker of signs. So that that which is, you might think making signs is kind of useful around the monastery. This is the bathroom, this is the office, no entry, quiet area. Most monasteries have lots of signs, but it's and a more, say, profound meaning of not being a maker of signs. So that which is designating, that which the mind takes a designation as say, good or bad, beautiful, ugly, appropriate, inappropriate. We label things in these ways, makings of measurement of, is it this is big, this is small, this is comfortable, this is uncomfortable, this is beautiful, this is ugly. All these different ways that the mind invests the world of perception and the habits of judgment, measuring things, defining things, the designation of things, all these different ways that the mind takes sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, memory, ideas, and then believes in them, takes them to be solid and absolute and real, that's all contributing to the limitation of mind. And it's the wisdom faculty that lets go of measurement, that lets go of thingness, that lets go of designation. That's where we can genuinely find our freedom, our fulfillment, find genuine happiness, genuine peace, genuine ease in our hearts. I realize may sound a little bit esoteric, but I do find these words very, very helpful to ponder. The Pali for them, the maker of measurement is pamana karana, and the word for something is kinchana, and the word for a maker of signs, in case you want to have a title for the monastery sign maker, is the nimitta karana, the one who makes signs, and so that these are the Pali terms for that. But just to be able to track the way during the course of any day, the mind gets born into comparisons. This is big, this is small, this is long, this is short, this is a long time, this is a short time, this is taking forever, oh, this has gone too quickly. This is really heavy, this is very light, this is delicious, this is awful. Yeah. This happens so much, and I've mentioned I'll talk about this in many Dhamma talks because I feel such a powerful and prevalent habit in the minds of most people during the course of the day. I think I was saying in a Dhamma talk last week how it's staggering the number of judgments of this kind that we make. But just a simple act of having the mindfulness to notice that a judgment is being made, that you're making a measurement, you're making a comparison, that you're making determining a thing into existence, that you're believing in a characteristic. You're saying this is beautiful, that's ugly, this is attractive, this is off-putting. Just that the wisdom mind that knows that judgment is happening, that makes all the difference. The mind that knows a judgment is being made is, in that moment, free of judging, is free of creating those kind of limitations. And as Luang Por Chah also put it, in this wonderful Dhamma talk of his that's called Convention and Liberation, I think it's the very first one in the collected teachings of Ajahn Chah, and the first opening sentence of that teaching, he says, "All the things of this world are merely conventions of our own creation. Having established them, we get lost in them, giving rise to all kinds of trouble and confusion." Yeah, when I helped to edit that book or proofread it, and I thought, you could just leave it at that. Just collected teachings of Ajahn Chah, like one sentence. You know. I mean, that's maybe a bit of a conceited view. There are other very valuable and precious and important teachings throughout that book. But that first sentence, it says so much about how we relate to the world, how we relate to our bodies, our relationships, the people in our lives, the ones we love, the ones we hate, the ones we have opinions about, the people close to us, the people far away. Just to take that one sentence, you know, all the things of this world are merely conventions of our own creation. Having established them, we get lost in them, giving rise to all kinds of trouble and confusion. That's the map of the world, really, I would say. And that if we can get to know that process of creating those designations, those conventions, how the mind designates things into existence and then gets lost in those judgments. I approve, I disapprove. This is right, that's wrong. This is beautiful, that's ugly. It should be this way, it shouldn't be this way. Then there's an extraordinary quality of ease and freedom, peace that can be found, that our life can embody a great peace. Another of the teachings that I like to talk about and quote endlessly, again I feel is not a very long teaching, quite a short piece that just contains extraordinary wisdom and is really, I feel, describes the basis of insight meditation, vipassana practice. And it's in a dialogue between the wanderer Vacchagotta and the Buddha. And Vacchagotta used to come regularly to visit the Buddha and ask all kinds of questions, and he's a sort of significant character in the the stories and the events that are described in the Pali Canon. In this particular encounter, he's been asking the Buddha what happens to an enlightened being at the end of their life. When an enlightened being passes away, do they reappear in another world or do they not? And the Buddha replies, Vaccha, reappear does not apply. So then Vacchagotta asks, well, do they not reappear in another world? And the Buddha says, Vaccha does not reappear. That doesn't apply either. So to try and cover every angle, then Vacchagotta asks, so do they both reappear and not reappear? And the Buddha says, nope, that doesn't apply either. And then to complete the set, he says, well, do they neither reappear nor not reappear in another realm? Thinking that, well, it's got to be one of those four. It's got to cover every possible angle. The Buddha says, nope, that doesn't apply either. So then Vacchagotta says, well, I'm really confused because one of these has got to be the truth. One's got to be the reality. And then one of the Buddha's most kind of marvelous and skillful analogies, there's many of these throughout the Pali Canon, but in this particular encounter, the Buddha says, well, you're asking the question in a way that presumes a reality that doesn't exist. So, say for example, we had a little fire burning here, made of grass and sticks, and so there's a little fire here in this place where we're sitting, in this cave or wherever, and then we let the fire go out, and I asked you, where did the fire go, north, south, east, or west? What would you say? And Vacchagotta says, well, I'd say the question doesn't apply. It didn't go north, south, east, or west. The fire just went out. And the Buddha said, exactly. The way you ask the question presumes a reality that doesn't exist. Reappears doesn't apply, doesn't reappear doesn't apply, both reappears and doesn't reappear doesn't apply, and neither reappears nor doesn't reappear does not apply. Being doesn't apply, going doesn't apply, where doesn't apply. You're asking the question based on this, say, designations that the mind is making about time, identity, location, and these presumptions are false. They're not based on reality. So then the second part of the teaching, which is the one that I find extraordinarily helpful and profound, and it's really, as I said, really describing the essence of insight, meditation, the development of wisdom as we understand it in the Buddhist world. So then the Buddha talks about his own nature. He talks about the nature of the Tathagata. But I feel that that's completely transferable to the quality of wisdom of our own hearts. When the Buddha says, when he uses the word Tathagata, it's referring to his own nature, to himself. But I feel that it's exactly transfers into the wisdom faculty, the quality of awareness of our own hearts. And again, as Luang Por Chah would say, that the Buddha refuge, what we mean by the Buddha refuge in its essence is that awake, aware capacity of our own hearts. That's the refuge, that's the safe place, that the fact that our hearts, our minds can be aware, they can know success and failure, pain and comfort, they can know praise and criticism, that awareness can know those polarities of the world and not be confused or limited by those things that are being known. So what he says to Vacchagotta, he said, when he talks about his own nature, and I would say the nature of the heart of each of us that is awake and aware and knowing, he says the Tathagata, that material form whereby one trying to describe the Tathagata would describe him, that's been cut off at the root, made like a palm tree stump, deprived of the conditions of existence and rendered incapable of arising in the future. So too with feeling, with perception, mental formations and consciousness. The Tathagata is liberated from being reckoned in terms of material form, of feeling, of perceptions, of mental formations, or of discriminative consciousness. He is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the great ocean. So that's quite grand language, and it's not kind of everyday speech that you're using to chat with each other when you meet at Trader Joe's or over the washing up at the monastery. But so it's slightly unusual languaging of things. But I feel what you've got there is, say, that awake, aware mind. When we're trying to describe, what we are as living beings, what is the fundamental nature of life, of reality, of this being, of that which is real, the center of each of our lives. And then what the Buddha is saying here is that if we try to describe what we are, what is real, that fundamental quality of awakened awareness is indescribable in terms of material form, of feeling, perception, mental formations, or even of consciousness. One who, when trying to describe the Tathagata, would describe him in terms of material form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. It doesn't apply. Those have all been completely let go of. So that awake, aware quality is present. It knows, just like the mind of each of us gathered here. There's that which is knowing the sound of these words. It's feeling the weight of the body on the cushion or the chair. That feels your clothes on your skin. Or the kind of moods of understanding or not understanding, or somewhere in between, a mixture. That this quality of awakened awareness, it knows those patterns of perception, but it can't be defined in terms of those patterns. So in the phrasing of this teaching, saying the Tathagata, that awake, aware quality of the heart, is liberated from being reckoned in terms of material form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. So that which knows the person isn't the person. That which knows the physical body doesn't have a body. That which knows perception isn't a perception. That which knows feelings isn't a feeling. That which knows consciousness or discriminative consciousness is not discriminative consciousness. So that's recognizing that there is this quality of awakened awareness that's completely transcendent over the five khandhas, is completely liberated from the five khandhas. And that this was one of the teachings, I think the final teaching that Luang Por Chah received from Luang Por Man, when most people are probably familiar with the story how Ajahn Chah only spent 3 days with Ajahn Man. And when he was a young wandering bhikkhu, he had a short stay at Ajahn Man's monastery. And on apparently on the third evening, this was the teaching that Venerable Ajahn Man gave to him. He said that which is aware of the five khandhas is completely separate from, completely transcendent of the five khandhas. This is why liberation is possible. If every kind of awareness was somehow tied up with the five khandhas and with birth and death, with the conditioned realm, then liberation would be impossible. But because this quality of awakened awareness, this puru in Thai, or the dhatu, the element of awareness, or vijadhatu, you can call it in Pali, because that is intrinsically transcendent of the five khandhas, therefore liberation is possible. There is this quality of the heart that can know the world, can know the field of perception, but which is not limited by it. It's not burdened by that. It's not bounded or reckonable in terms of that. So this was the essential teaching, and then apparently Ajahn Chah next day paid his respects, packed up his bowl and kept on with his wanderings. And then when people asked him, why didn't you stay with Luang Por Man longer? You only were there for 3 days. And I don't think he would have given the analogy of an electric light, because there wasn't much electricity in northeast Thailand in those days. But it was something along the lines of, well, when the light comes on, you don't need to stay close to the light switch. Yeah, he had received that teaching and had understood it, had really imbibed it, and so there was this recognition that he didn't need to stay close to that which had ignited it, because it was a light, that the light of wisdom was bright within his own heart, and he took that teaching, and then that informed so much of his instruction, guidance, and example for many years afterwards. So in essence, this is supporting the insight into the empty nature of the five khandhas, that the wisdom mind knows that the five khandhas are empty, that the quality of rupa, material form, of this body or the material world around us, there's no thing absolutely there that makes independent, separate, solid things. So too with Vedana, sensations, physical sensations of pleasant feeling, painful feeling, neutral feeling, perceptions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, sankhara, mental formations of thought, imagination, emotion, memory, states of concentration, all the different modes of mental activity. And then vijnana, discriminative consciousness. In the context of the five khandhas, vijnana is, you could say, separative or discriminative consciousness, that which is vi means separate or partial, jnana is knowing, so that which distinguishes one thing from another, so discriminative consciousness. So that this saying no to the five khandhas, like no, this is not real, this is not solid, this is not absolute, this is not substantial. When we use the word sunya, empty, to describe that, saying no to the five khandhas. But then the second part of that, the Buddha's comments there, I take also as extremely significant. When he goes on to say the Tathagata is liberated from being reckoned in terms of the five khandhas, for the body, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, discriminative consciousness. He then goes on to say, he is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the great ocean. So that second part is like, well, the Tathagata, this awake, aware quality of the citta, it can't be determined or defined or designated in terms of the five khandhas, but it's real, profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the great ocean. And when I was out on the coast at Three Jewels the other day, I was saying how whenever the image of the ocean or that kind of phraseology is used in the teachings, the image that comes to mind is 10 Mile Beach, just north of Fort Bragg, which I didn't visit last week because it was pouring with rain and it was kind of stormy. Didn't go out onto 10 Mile Beach, but that's the mental image that usually comes to mind. I've been there many, many times because it's a long stretch of sand and a very kind of open feel to the place, and then the Pacific Ocean, the roaring waves coming in, this sense of the kind of power and potency of the ocean and this great spaciousness. So when the Buddha uses that kind of phrase of the Tathagata is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the great ocean. So when you're standing at the seashore, like 10 Mile Beach or up on a cliff, and when you're there at the seashore, mostly, I would say for most people, and why the Buddha would use this kind of image, because there's this sense of limitlessness. The water just spreads out to the horizon, and you can't see to the extent to where it goes. And then the sense of powerful presence, the waves kind of rolling in and crashing on the beach. A sense of potency and the powers of the water in motion, and also mystery, wonderment. Like you can't see what's below the surface. There's the mind is in a state of wonderment, so that and the immeasurability, that limitlessness. So he is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the great ocean. So I feel that is just as in the first part of that teaching it's saying no to the five khandhas. The five khandhas are empty, they are insubstantial, there's an appearance but there's no essence there. The second part is saying yes to the Dhamma, yes to the fundamental reality of things. And so that that yesness is embodied in the term tatata, which means suchness. In that same gesture of saying no, the five khandhas are empty, it's saying yes, the Dhamma is real. The fundamental reality is thus. The ultimate reality of things. There's this suchness to the present moment experience, the present moment as a apperception of reality, the receiving of the heart of this moment, this present experience. There's a suchness, and the Pali word for that is tatata. So in that moment of saying no, the moment of insight where the heart sees through the empty nature of the five khandhas, it's simultaneously saying yes to the Dhamma, which is unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, unformed, which is timeless. The most senior Western monk in Thailand for many years, he passed away about 15 years ago. Ajahn Amaro, 2007, 6? 2004. Yeah, wow, 19. So nearly 20 years ago. So Venerable Panyawado was a British monk who was the student of Ajahn Mahabua and went to Thailand in 1961 already as a bhikkhu and was a student of Venerable Ajahn Mahabua. There was this very beautiful phrase that he came up with to describe this relationship, which is, he said, the five khandhas exist, but they're not real. And the Dhamma is real, but it doesn't exist, which might be very confusing. So the word exist, a little bit of etymology here. So the Latin root of the English word exist is exi, which means out, or ex means out, and stere means to stand. So that which stands out, existere, that which stands out. So the five khandhas stand out. You can hear the sound of my voice. We can feel our bodies. We can see the colors and shapes of this room. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and feeling, thinking, remembering, imagining, that's all stands out. The sensory world stands out and is apparent. So the five khandhas exist, but they're not real. That as I was saying, they are hollow, they're empty, they're insubstantial. There's a form, but no essence. And then the Dhamma doesn't stand out, doesn't exist, it doesn't stand out. It is not, say, obvious or apparent, but it's real. It's the integrative principle that is the binding agent of reality, that is the supportive quality. The word Dhamma literally means that which upholds or that which integrates. So that's a very neat expression. And the other day at the tea time here, I was it came up in conversation where I was quoting. I had this monastery is very closely associated with the city of 10,000 Buddhas, and half the land here was the gift of Master Xuan Hua just before he passed away. And for many years, I read a lot of Master Hua's commentaries and many of the translations that his community had made of Dhamma teachings from the northern tradition. And so he was a very important figure in our community during the 80s. And so in one particular very vivid dream I had, Master Hua appeared and spoke in very good English, which is unusual. When I dreamt of Ajahn Chah, he spoke English too, which was very helpful. But yeah, in this particular dream, which is relevant to these reflections I'm giving, Master Hua said, his very brief statement, he said, "Bright, loud and mobile is the false, subtle and indistinct is the true." And then I woke up, thought, okay, that's a teaching, so I quickly wrote it down. Bright, loud and mobile is the false, subtle and indistinct is the true. So again, that's a helpful phrase to sit upon and to contemplate, to reflect upon. The emptiness of the five khandhas, just to speak on that a little bit more, there's a very wonderful teaching of the Buddha's where he was walking by the river in Ayodhya, what's now Ayodhya in India, and there was a lump of foam floating on the surface of the river, and he pointed to that and said, the material form, rupa, the rupa khandha, is just like that lump of foam. There's a form but no essence. And then he went on to give examples of the other five khandhas. He said when they're so material form is like a lump of foam on the river. Vedana, feeling, sensation. He said, like when there's a big rainstorm and the raindrops hit the surface of a pond, it forms a bubble, like a spherical bubble appears for a moment on the surface, and then it's there for a moment, and then it's gone. The Vedana is just like a water bubble, just that as the rain hits the pond, it's there for a moment, then it's gone. There's a shape but no essence. And then perception, sanya, is like a mirage, like the images if you're out in the desert or in the hot weather. In California, often on the highway, you get mirages. You see patches of, it looks like oil on the surface of the road. It's not really an oil patch, it's just the distortion of the light. So a mirage, there's an appearance, there's a form, there's a shape, but there's no essence, there's no thing really there. And then sankhara, he compares to the trunk of a banana plant, like there's leaves that wrap around each other like with an onion or a leek. He said that there's no heartwood in a plantain, in a banana plant. You can peel away the leaves and there's no essence, there's no core, there's no heartwood. So it seems that there's a solid trunk there, but you take away the leaves and there's no trunk. There's no thing there. And the last one, vijnana, discriminative consciousness, he says it's like a conjurer's trick, that it seems like there's real magic being done, that this rabbit is really appearing or disappearing, but it's just a trick, the skill of the conjurer that makes it seem as though something has appeared or disappeared, but it's not real, it's an appearance without any essence. I feel these kind of teachings are helpful to get to know and to reflect upon, because they support the moment by moment way that the mind relates to the world, to our body, to our aches and pains, to being getting wet in the rain, to the feeling of being with our friends, or being in the middle of an argument, or being hungry for some food, or having a period of excitement or sleepiness, all the different moods and events and patterns of experience, conversations, relations, that all of that can seem so solid, so vivid, so real, so compelling, so convincing, bright, loud and mobile. It's just, it seems so solid, so real, so substantial. But if we shift that view, if we recollect these teachings, then we're still in the conversation, we're still hungry, we're still wet in the rain, but there's a different way that the heart receives it, holds it, knows it. It's like, here's the experience of wetness, or here's the experience of being in a conversation. This is the perception of tiredness, or this is a perception of excitement, of something being compelling or irritating. And just that small quality of spaciousness, just knowing this is an event, this is the feeling of personhood, this is the experience of my life and the personal qualities. But and in that moment of letting go, of not buying into those perceptions, not being born into them, the heart not entangling itself with those perceptions, but embodying that transcendent awareness of that is the Buddha refuge, that awakened awareness of the heart, then there's an attunement to what's being experienced, but not a grasping, not an identification, not an entanglement. So as I was saying, that which knows the personal, the feelings of the body, or the face in the mirror, that knows this name and this story, that which knows the person is not a person. That which knows femininity is not female. That which knows masculinity is not male. That which knows happiness isn't happy. That which knows sadness isn't sad. That which knows angry feelings is not angry. This which is aware of discomfort is not uncomfortable. It knows discomfort. That here is this experience, but in it, that awareness itself, this knowing quality, is not uncomfortable. Is not intrinsically identified with any of that. In these teachings, and these reflections, we can hear them, and so it can make sense. Hopefully, we say, "Yeah, that's right. But the real challenge is then applying moment by moment as your role in society, in your family, in the community. If you're the abbot of the monastery, or you're the youngest anagarika, or you're a visiting layperson, or you've been here for decades, or this is the first time you've ever been in a monastery. Wherever we are at, the challenge is to take these teachings, these principles, and then apply them, and then to see what the results are of having applied those teachings, having made that shift of view, and that insight dawns in the heart to recognize, oh, right, that makes a lot of difference, to know this which is aware of an angry feeling isn't angry. There's this angry feeling, but the heart that knows, well, this is a hot one, is somehow not identified with it, isn't born into it, is not taking it as absolutely substantial. Aha! So it's that aha, that's the informing quality that says, okay, take note of this, remember this, be aware of this, and then that recognition of the effect of applying this quality of awakened awareness, this wisdom, then that informs our attitude in the future. That it becomes much easier not to be drawn into excitements and fears and opinions and attractions and aversions. We're less dazzled by the bright and the loud and the mobile. And then in that lack of bedazzlement, then the heart is more able to appreciate that underlying suchness of the present reality. It's going back to Luang Por Chah's comments about the Buddha Dhamma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. That was the last advice he gave to Ajahn Sumedho. That was the last communication they had in words, that message, because shortly after Ajahn Chah sent that, a couple of months later, then he had some kind of stroke or stroke-like event that after which his speech and his mobility were very, very limited, and he didn't give any more Dhamma talks after that time. So it was really the last message to Ajahn Sumedho, like, okay, Sumedho, here's your final instructions, establishing these monasteries in the West and teaching, spreading Dhamma in the world. These are your instructions. So that it might seem like that it was a kind of more likely that Ajahn Chah, if he knew that his physical collapse was coming, he would give Ajahn Sumedho as his chief Western disciple a long list of do this, don't do that, and always do this, and never do that, and a kind of catalogue of do's and don'ts, but he didn't. He just gave this one principle, and I feel that I've reflected on this a lot over the years. I think that if we, and the reason behind it, I would say, is that if that principle of not attaching to time and location, identity, not identifying with the conditioned realm, can be realized and embodied, if there's a letting go of those worldly aims and values, and that awakening to that quality, the Dhamma which is not found in moving forwards or going or moving backwards or standing still, then the result of that is progress. Things do progress when you let go of measurement, you let go of designation, you let go of the world of things. Then mysteriously and ironically, strangely, then things really develop. That's the weird way it seems to work. You let go of the world completely, and then things develop really well. If you hang on to the world and try to make it like this and not like that, and you have a whole program of how you want, you're determined that things are going to develop, then they don't take shape so well, in my experience. So I feel it's ironic and wonderful that it's through letting go of the mind that measures, that compares, that creates some things, and that is buying into designations. When that's all let go of, then that's what helps things to flourish and blossom and reach their full potential. So I see 9 o'clock has come around, so I'll offer these words for consideration this evening.